Hello, leaders. Hey, this is Paul Grau, and welcome to Run to Your Leadership Challenges, the daily show that equips leaders and entrepreneurs to achieve their greatest potential. This show is sponsored by Current Leadership Coaching, and they help entrepreneurs excel as leaders so they can create super teams. Find out more about them at currentleadershipcoaching.com. Hey, hope you're doing absolutely great today. And today, I want to wish my son a very happy 7th birthday. And I want to share with you about what his birth and his first 9 days of life taught me about leadership. You see, my son was born via an emergency C-section. And if you've ever been through one of them, you'd know just how scary it can be. And I'll tell you, I can't even begin to put into words the emotions that were going through my mind that day. It started about 30 minutes before he was born, as his heart rate completely stopped. I mean, flatline. And the doctors burst into our room like the cavalry, and the organized chaos began. And I had no idea if he was going to survive or not. As quickly as the doctors and nurses bursted into the room, they left the room just as quick, wheeling my wife's bed down the hallway straight into the operating room. And as I followed, they told me that I had to wait outside. And man, those 5 minutes that I had to wait there seemed like an eternity. And then, as I was waiting for somebody to come out and give me an update, a bunch of other nurses and doctors came thundering down the hallway, running into the operating room. At this point, I was both nervous and scared to death. And then finally, a doctor came out to tell me that my wife and son were stable and they were doing okay. And man, as soon as he said that, my emotions just let loose. And I cried like a baby. Now, right after my son was born, the nurses told me that they had to do a few tests on him. And after receiving a few abnormal test results, they came up to me and basically said, hey, we're going to do everything that we can. And at that point, I was like, what do you mean? He's born. He's all right. And they're like, no, we got some abnormal test results and, some things look not so great. Man, at that point, I didn't really know what to do. And yet I knew I had to put my trust in something outside of myself. And that was the doctors and nurses. But I really knew that putting my trust in them just wasn't good enough. I had to start putting my trust in something much bigger than everything. So I started praying, and I chose to trust God through this whole thing. The next 9 days were hit or miss with my son. My wife was doing okay by this point, but we really didn't know for sure if our son was going to survive or not. But again, we put our hope and trust in the doctors and nurses, and we continually kept praying, along with, I think, every friend and family member we had. One night, as the doctor came in to do his checks, I asked him what my son's chances were, and he told me, well, it's totally up to God, as we've done everything that we can do. The next afternoon, I asked a nurse how concerned that we should be and how my son was doing, and she basically said, hey, it's time to do a lot of praying, but it's not quite time to panic just yet. Well, obviously my son survived and is just fine today. But those first 9 days of his life taught me some valuable leadership lessons that I wanted to share with you. First of all, I knew that some things are just far beyond a leader's control. Some things you just have to trust something bigger than yourself, and even something bigger than the abilities of the experts on your team. Second, I learned the importance of having a close inner circle of people whom you can call and talk to and not be afraid of letting all your emotions out. Keeping emotions bottled up is just not healthy, and it stresses you out. And your inner circle are the ones that truly care deeply about you. I also learned the importance of having a great team at work who can pick up for you when you unexpectedly need to take 9 days off. I was able to go back to work after those 9 days and not be buried in catch-up work, if you know what I mean. And finally, I learned that it's okay for a leader to have real-world challenges and to share his or her feelings with others. I learned that leaders don't always have to be the strongest person in the room, and that leaders need support when they are going through deep personal challenges. Finally, from a Christian spiritual perspective, I learned the importance of memorizing Scripture because my memory verses that I had memorized at that point, Man, they just got me through many nights, and they comforted me. And I was able to share them with other nurses and doctors in the hospital. The bottom line is that we all struggle from time to time, and we all go through extremely deep personal hurts. And it's okay to let down your guard and let your team carry the workload for a little while. And that's not possible unless you prepare ahead of time. Hey, I know many of you may be struggling with the election results or their lack of, and that's understandable. However, just keep in mind that Romans 13:1 says, "Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established." The authorities that exist have been established by God. Man, today I challenge you to put your trust in something much bigger than yourself and the situation going on around you. As always, thank you for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges.